Good evening. Welcome to the City of Kalamazoo's Committee of the Whole meeting of Tuesday, July 6, 2021. I'm Kalamazoo Deputy City Manager Jeff Chamberlain. Tonight's meeting is being streamed live on the City of Kalamazoo's Facebook page, as well as the City of Kalamazoo's YouTube channel. You can also listen in to tonight's meeting by calling area code 269-552-6425 and entering meeting ID number 954-4367-0558 when prompted. And you can also leave a public comment for tonight's meeting by calling area code 269-226-6573. And I'd like to turn the meeting over to Mayor David Anderson.
Once again, thank you, Deputy City Manager Chamberlain, and welcome everybody to the City of Kalamazoo Committee of the Whole meeting for Tuesday, July 6th. I'd like to call this meeting to order. And Clerk Moss, could you please call the roll?
Commissioner Cunningham. Commissioner Hess.
Present in the city of South Haven.
Commissioner Knott.
Here, Kalamazoo.
Commissioner Pradel.
Present in the city of Kalamazoo.
Commissioner Urban.
Here in the city of Kalamazoo.
Vice Mayor Griffin.
Here in the city of Kalamazoo.
Mayor Anderson.
Here in the City of Kalamazoo. May I have a motion to excuse Commissioner Cunningham?
So move.
Support.
Motion made by Commissioner Urban, supported by Commissioner Pradel. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, nay. Thank you. Are there any communications, Deputy City Manager Chamberlain?
None.
Not here, Your Honor.
Okay, and none from you, Manager Risma, all right. Any public comments for the Committee of the Whole meeting?
Yes, sir. We have received some and we'll go ahead and play those.
Hi, my name is Kelsey Harness and I live at 410 Elm Street in downtown Kalamazoo. I'm just calling in to advocate for a blinking yellow light put at the intersection of Kalamazoo Ave and Elm Street. Over this past year, there's been at least 7 different accidents right there at that intersection, and that's just during the times that I've been home at my house. So I imagine that there's been additional accidents that I'm not even aware of. But 3 or 4 of those accidents were very, very serious, and ambulances, police, everything have been called to that intersection so many times. And I just know that it's a matter of time before, the next accident happens. So I would really appreciate it if you would consider at least putting a blinking yellow light in there. So thank you for taking this information into consideration. And if you have any questions for me about that, or I've even taken some pictures of the accidents that have happened, please feel free to get a hold of me. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Mr. Mayor, that was the last public comment.
Thank you, DCM Chamberlain. So for our Committee of the Whole agenda tonight, the first thing is review of items on upcoming City Commission agendas. Manager Risma.
I will turn things over to DCM Chamberlain.
All right.
Thank you, Manager Ritzma. So for your 7 o'clock business meeting tonight, we do have a full agenda. We have 3 public hearings on the agenda tonight. 2 of them pertain to rezonings, and then 1 for a single building historic district that's being proposed. As we get into the consent agenda, obviously, as often we have a number of public services purchasing items for a number of projects that are ongoing right now. We also have a couple fireworks related items. One is a request from the Growlers for another night, and another is a draft of a first reading of an ordinance that would allow fireworks in recognition of Juneteenth as an additional day. We also have some additional ordinances relating to off-road vehicles, some cleanup language to bring it in the compliance with the state of Michigan, some amendments to the Brownfield plan, and then a property sale that has come before you once before. And then on the unfinished business, tonight's agenda item is to discuss the idea for the resource officer, the school resource officer. And that item is up for action at your 7 o'clock meeting. And then finally, staff was requested to bring back information on ideas for returning back to in-person meetings. And that is also on the agenda for tonight. And then finally, looking ahead in 2 weeks for your meeting on the 19th, at the Committee of the Whole meeting, we were working on developing a presentation on our business development fund to give you an update on that. And then also at the 7 o'clock meeting, we have a number of regular items that would come back to you, but it is also time for our quarterly report on odor remediation efforts involving the City of Kalamazoo's wastewater treatment plant, the work that's going on there, and also the work that's being done next door at Graphic Packaging International. So that will be at your meeting on July 19th. And that is all.
Thank you, Deputy City Manager Chamberlain. For our work session for the Committee of the Whole this evening, we have the topic related to the proposed memorandum of agreement with Kalamazoo Public Schools for the Kalamazoo Department of Public Safety to provide a school resource officer, provide those services for the 2021 to 22 school year. So Deputy City Manager Chamberlain, is there a presentation?
We do not have a presentation tonight. We have representatives from Kalamazoo Public Schools with us tonight. And we also have Chief Coakley with us here tonight to discuss this topic. Chief or Superintendent, you're welcome to kick it off.
Yeah, I would, before they jump in, I would also add that the superintendent met with several of staff and commissioners, a group of commissioners, to go over, I think it was the mayor, vice mayor, and go over some of the details that were presented to the school board earlier this year when they approved or were asked to approve the SRO for Loy Norrix and with the City of Kalamazoo. So that presentation was attached to the agenda here, and yeah, Dr. Rita or Mr. Webster want to jump in, or we could also field questions that were raised at the last meeting that maybe the folks can shed some light on.
I'll let.
Yeah, I mean, I can just recap.
Sounds great.
Sorry.
Thank you.
Sorry, Mayor Anderson. I can just quickly recap the presentation that you all received that's also included in the public packet that you put out. Essentially, it shows that students and staff at Loy Norrix High School were surveyed, and the majority said that they wanted to have a school resource officer in their building or had no preference. And I'm sure you noticed that that survey data was also disaggregated by gender, socioeconomic status, race and ethnicity, and grade level, so age group as well. And we also disaggregated by students who have IEPs and our English language learners and our refugee students. And overwhelmingly across each of those, across all of those categories, students told us that they wanted to have school resource officers at their high school. And then the staff survey was also disaggregated by roles, and in every single role category, staff also wanted to have a school resource officer in their building. Along with that, in the presentation is also included the training that is required, and that requirement was a collaborative effort by both KDPS and KPS. So there's cultural responsiveness training in there. There's how the teenage brain works. That training is included. So a multitude of trainings, new trainings. These are new additions to what is being required of school resource officers. That's also in your presentation packet. I believe those were primarily the questions that came up in your last meeting, asking about what information do we have that this is needed, what data do we have. Additionally, you'll also see that this concept of school to prison pipeline, it means different things to different people, but essentially I think what it means to most people is that students from high schools are getting arrested in high school and being put in jail. And you'll see from the arrest records, there was one arrest made in the past 5 years, and that was a result of a student having a loaded weapon on campus. So hopefully the data has shed some light on some misconceptions that may have existed, and I'm happy to answer any questions, and Dawn is here as well to answer questions that you may have.
Thank you so much, Dr. Rai Chaudhuri. I know that Don Webster is here, and I know that there was a very extensive packet that you included that is in our agenda packet that's online as well, about all the work that happened at KDPS in preparation for making this decision. At this point, are there some specific questions that we might have on the commission side, since this is on our 7 o'clock agenda for this evening? Anyone? Vice Mayor Griffin.
Thank you, Mayor Anderson. Thank you, Dr. Rita, and everyone else for providing us with additional information so that the community can be clear on what's going on. And so for me, I guess what I would say moving forward, it's more for our Department of Public Safety and the records and the information that they have. I would like there to be some sort of annual report or some sort of information that is kept on the side of KDPS, so that the next time this comes up when we go through it, while I definitely appreciate what KPS has been able to provide, and I appreciate Dr. Rita, the extensive detail that went into this. It's very important that on our end, in terms of what we have responsibility for, we should be able to, at the click of a button or the just have a question being asked, and that we have this information in our wheelhouse. So whatever we need to do to make sure that happens for the future, I would like to see that those steps be in place.
Thanks, Vice Mayor. Chief Coakley, do you have any information related to that?
Thank you, Vice Mayor, for that comment. And we here at KDPS we'll begin to do that in the year coming as we move forward with the SRO position to make the year-end report.
Any other questions or comments on this item? Commissioner Hess.
Okay, again, kind of sketchy internet here, but because I was the one that took it off of the agenda of the consent agenda, I did want to have this community conversation, and the bulk of information that you provided, Dr. Rita, is just incredible. I appreciate that. I appreciate everyone's understanding of the need for such conversation, and I appreciate Vice Mayor for really pushing the envelope on this to make sure that we all have a greater understanding of why this is happening. My question is for Mr. Webster, and as the head security officer for Kalamazoo Public Schools, we didn't get a chance to hear from you publicly, and I wonder if you would speak to this issue of the SRO at Loy Norrix and Kalamazoo Central, which is in Kalamazoo Township, but the need for such an officer. I wonder if you could do that, please.
Absolutely, Commissioner Hess. You know, as you saw in the packet, you know, the law enforcement community has been in the school district for over close to 40 years. And out that 40 years, the relationships that we built, working within the school district, and the young folks that we have mentored, who just went on to be outstanding folks in the community. I wish the night that we gave the presentation at the school board that you could have heard from the community. So many people in the community who have supported the school resource officer, not for the fact that we look at it from a safety issue, but all the interaction that we've had with our students over the years. And it was just so good to hear folks come back and talk about their relationship with their school resource officer. And I think the most important thing that I always like to hear at the graduations, two things I like to hear. When I hear kids walk across the stage and they say that what they're gonna miss about high school, that they're gonna miss their school resource officer and my campus safety, I'm very, very moved by that, because I pride myself on, especially the city of Kalamazoo, we got the largest public safety department in the country. The largest public safety department in the country. It is a hidden secret. And I think about how many young folks that school resource officer is going to touch over the next couple of years. And you talk about for recruitment, and you talking about relationships. And I keep talking about, defund the police and those kind of things. And I think this is because of that healthy relationships that KPS has had with the city for so many years. I think when we talk about defunding the police officer and rewriting history, this is a great opportunity and a great recruitment tool. And I think the information that Dr. Reichert Dewey put together shows that, the impact that our school resource officer have on our community. And again, I wish the night that the presentation was given, that you could truly hear the remarks back from the community that really spoke about, all the mentoring and the coachings and the things that the school resource officer do, things that they think that they're just there for safety, but they are so much more in that building. And so I'm hoping that our relationship continues, because it is a huge piece of our family, that school resource officer. So I hope that we were able to answer all the questions that were needed for the commissioners. And I look forward to the 2021-22 school year with school resource officer.
Thank you. And because I believe that education runs and flows throughout the city in so many ways, this is yet another way for our public safety officers to be educators of our youth and of our community. So I appreciate KDPS for partnering with KPS in this effort. Thank you.
Other questions, comments, or concerns? Yeah, Commissioner Urban.
Yeah, I went ahead and watched the video that the superintendent provided of that board meeting in which so many people came forward. And I must say, I was quite pleasantly surprised by how many people were laudatory in speaking of the school resource officers functioning in the past. I don't think there was a single really negative comment in that whole bunch of speakers who spoke that night. So I think that helps me feel that the perception problem is outside the schools rather than inside the schools. And I think the time that we've taken to really air this thing thoroughly and to get more eyes on the how this proposal came about, and the fact that it's being changed in a very much more sensitive way than it has been in the past, is just further evidence that that this extra time we've taken is going to help us. So that's more of a comment than a question, but I just say I appreciate the superintendent taking the time to assemble that video and to put it out there for not only for us, but for anybody else who wants to see it.
Thank you, Commissioner Urban. Vice Mayor Griffin.
Thank you, Mayor Anderson. I just have a quick question. I realize that there was a lot of work that went into changing the MOU, and I understand that KPS is vast, but this is the only school that falls under Lloyd Norris currently. And Dr. Rita, perhaps you can speak to this. For the other schools and the other law enforcement agencies that you're working with, was there an extensive of an overview to update those MOUs as well? I'm just asking as a former KPS parent, even though this is the only one we're asking about, I really care about all of them. So thank you.
Yeah, we have SROs in only 2 of our schools. Lloyd Norris is one and Kalamazoo Central is the other one. And the relationship with Lloyd Norris is with KDPS, and it's the Township Police with K Central. And it is the same exact MOA for both. It was collaboratively created with those 2 departments and KPS. So members of KTPD, members of KDPS, and the KPS team were at the table together, having student-centered conversations and creating the MOA. And the Board of Commissioners for K Central already approved the MOA a while ago. So this was the last one that we were waiting on.
Thank you. Any other questions or concerns on this topic then? Commissioner Pradel.
Thank you, Mayor. This is Commissioner Chris Pradel. Thank you both for being here tonight. Really appreciate your time. And Dr. Rita, really appreciate your time on the phone as well last week. Also had a chance to talk with Patty Schuller-Barber as well, and appreciated her time as well. It just was curious. I was really impressed to learn a little bit about the background about how the SRO, the intervention, I guess, is kind of a last resort, right? And you kind of outlined that process about how first security, or I'm sorry, the school security intervenes. Then I think it's like administration intervenes as well, and then the officer comes in if they're not able to, correct the situation in the school. So, do you mind talking about that a little bit? I think that'd be really helpful for the public to hear that process as well, and better understand the role of the SRO in terms of intervening with challenging situations.
Sure, I can do that, and Don can probably give even more specific examples. So there is a slide in the presentation deck that says what SROs do and what they don't do. And I think there is a misconception about SROs doling out discipline and providing consequences for students and a host of other things. SROs do none of that. School staff does that. We have behavioral specialists, we have school social workers, we have school psychologists, we have teachers who are trained in restorative practices. SROs are never the front line or even the second or the third or the fourth line. School personnel intervene first. If there is an imminent threat, if there is a fight, if there is a threat to students and staff, then the principal will decide if the SRO needs to get involved. Of course, if the fight is happening right now, everybody jumps in, right? But the principal is usually the person at the school level who directs the SRO. SROs don't make decisions, don't make arrests, don't intervene unless they're asked to intervene. And for the simple reason is that we actually want them to build positive relationships with students. And our staff is fully trained in how to remediate behavior before it escalates. But if it does escalate, then they are there to provide that support. And it's an important piece to note that if they weren't there, it would still be a phone call to the police department if there's a weapon involved, or if there's a fight where tables are getting thrown across the room. But the time that it may take for an officer to respond to our school buildings, which is vast, big campuses, but it's much quicker when the SRO is there. And the other piece is, because the SRO is in the building, relationships with students are already built. So if there is a chance that something may happen, oftentimes students actually go and tell the SRO if there's a relationship. I'm hearing some chatter. I saw this on social media. So it can be proactive intervention versus intervening when something has already happened. So that is another benefit of having SROs in our schools. Don, do you want to add anything to that?
Yes, yes, Dr. Rice, I do, and I do. And Commissioner, I just want to just add on in this too. I think I constantly get questioned about, you know, the police getting involved and taking our kids to jail for fighting. And my answer to everyone to this question is this: we've had fights in schools for hundreds of years. We don't need the police to break up a fight. That's what campus safety is there for. They don't get involved in those kind of things, just like Dr. Raichadoui says. They're there to build relationships and to deal with, you know, situations that requires law enforcement to respond to our buildings. And the big thing about having our school resource officers there, even if an officer comes to the building, just say they come there because there was a fight or there was assault in the building, our school resource officer is more equipped to deal with that situation and to make sure that that situation is handled on the school level, and also make sure that it is handled outside the court system, so our kids don't get caught in the court system. And so because you have an officer come to a building, they just take a report and send the report in, you know, and they have to. I mean, if someone calls and say they want to make a report, they have to make a report. That's a great thing about having a school resource officer in there, because we can control that situation that needs to be handled on the school level, and to keep our kids out of keep our kids out of the system. And so it works very well. And we have a great relationship with the courts. Our school resource officers do too. And as you saw from the presentation, I know a lot of folks talk about the, you know, school to prison pipeline, but I'm telling you, the relationship here, and if you look at the stats here, those school resource officers are a huge impact. And that's the reason why that number is so low, because of the relationship that they build with our students at the school.
Yeah, thank you for that. The other point I guess I was going to make is that, and this is partially a comment, but also just kind of if you could confirm this, and this is again just for people who are listening at home, you know, KPS and you and your team and your board as well have extensively deliberated this and decided and voted that you want to have an SRO officer in both Loy Norrix and Kalamazoo Central, correct?
Correct.
And so, you know, the thing is that I think the thing to remember for the public as you're listening to this as well, the conversation and the debate about whether to have an SRO in both of the high schools has already been determined. The question at hand here is whether we want to be the contracting partner to have one of our City of Kalamazoo Department of Public Safety officers as the individual serving at Loy Norrix High School, correct?
Correct.
And
the support and the service has already been committed.
Yeah, so I think it's really important for the public to know that, and also recognize the fact that, you know, if it's not us, then who? And more than likely, it's going to be a jurisdiction that does not know our community or our children, as well as Kalamazoo Department of Public Safety. And, you know, and it's also probably more likely than not going to be a jurisdictional body like ours that cares enough to deliberate and talk about this issue and give it the importance and credence that it deserves. So, you know, I hope the public keeps that in mind, that, you know, we take this very seriously, just like Kalamazoo Public Schools takes this very seriously. And, you know, I have a lot of faith in our chief and, you know, Andrew Workema, in terms of who they've decided and chosen to serve in the school. And so, you know, the question at hand, you know, is not deciding whether a SRO is going to go in our high schools. The decision is whether we want to be the contracting partner to place a public safety officer in the said high schools. So I just wanted to make that comment, just get that verification. So thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Pradel. Any other comments on this item? All right, seeing none, I just want to remind anyone who's watched. Oh, I see Commissioner Cunningham from the car.
Yeah, please forgive me. I'm actually en route to run this town, Kalamazoo. First of all, thank you to all those in attendance who can you guys hear me pretty well?
Okay.
Yeah. This might be a little better. Can you hear me better?
Yes.
All right. first of all, thank you to all of those in attendance and willing to speak on a subject that obviously is important to not only the community, but this elected body, City Commission. I just want to go on record pretty much stating, I truly believe in this opportunity. I appreciate something that my forever Assistant Chief Webster mentioned in regards to, that mentoring and that mentorship and that ability to impact lives by building those relationships. I think that is very important for our public safety, not just from a high school level, but just, across the board with this community. But I wanted to really highlight within that, when you're talking about mentorship, you're talking about the opportunity to impact and to, have an individual that you're impressionable on. And in those instances, it's highly important that, those conversations are appropriate, that those conversations are one that this individual is willing to handle. And I know that in our previous meeting, I had opportunity to mention to Chief Coakley specifically. It's going to be important that he is very readily accessible to this officer, SRO, so that he can coach him up and train him up and ensure that he's continuously getting the training and education to be in this environment to impact the lives in the way that I think, all of us have an expectation for. I think, but beyond that, though, is to the other individuals in attendance who will be in the school system, chief and superintendent. It's imperative that we have individuals who are, engaged with our students to have insight on how impactful this SRO is, or how, if there's any form of growth, potential growth for this SRO, that we're as proactive as possible. And so, I think that was my main concern, is just ensuring that, working with, I guess to give even more background, working with Big Brother, Big Sister, where we had a program with our public safety and our youth in the community, and just, seeing those interactions, they aren't always perfect. You can put Eric Cunningham in the school system. It's not going to always be perfect with whatever conversation, but those are opportunities for growth, and those are opportunities for adjustments, and opportunities to really have those dialogues and conversations with whoever it is in that role, to ensure that they are, that they're growing appropriately, and that they're building the right mentoring type of environment that we're looking for out of this SRO.
Thank you, Commissioner Cunningham. Anyone else? Okay, well, that was a nice statement to end this discussion on for this time. So thank you, Commissioner Cunningham, for that. So once again, a reminder, this is on our agenda for our 7 o'clock meeting. Maybe I will let you, Deputy City Manager Chamberlain, let everybody know how they can access this. It's a 30-page set of slides. I think the particular page that Superintendent was referencing was page 17 on the do's and don'ts of an SRO. So if you want to look at that also, that's all available. And that will be on our meeting. Deputy City Manager Chamberlain, how can someone access that?
The best way to access all the documents are through the city's website at kalamazooCity.org, and just search for the Kalamazoo City Commission and search for the July 6th Committee of the Whole meeting. And you'll have the option to download either the agenda or the entire packet. And if you download the entire packet, that will have the full presentation that was included in the public packet.
Thank you very much. So I want to thank the time and effort of our great partners at KDPS to spend some time with us, either individually on the phone here tonight. I appreciate that very much. And based on Commissioner Cunningham's comments, I'm fully supportive of this, using this to be as positive a partnership building interaction as we can, not just between the institutions, but with young people that live in Kalamazoo. So thank you very, very much for your work. We are now at the point on our agenda for commissioner comments. Are there any commissioner comments for our committee of the whole meeting? All right, thank you once again. Thanks everybody who watched and joined us, and look for us again in about an hour and a half. We are adjourned. Thank you so much.